The business as a whole for financial advisors is a very failure-prone business. What's it take to make a great advisor? So I've had 1,000 experiences with this. Everybody says, I need somebody who's...
How are advisors using AI to leverage technology or leverage themselves?
I've seen people within weeks kill off 10 hours of their workload. And the reason 70 to 90% of people fail in the financial advisor is because we assume all three of those different unique attributes.
In the beginning, you want to wear as many hats as possible so the business survives. But as you continue to grow, you want to shed as many hats as possible so that the business survives.
If your success is based on numbers, but it's going to cost you something that you're going to regret later, it's not success. I've seen people completely transform their business in 9 months. If you want to make a massive impact for people, you have to learn to
explain how does an advisor do that where the client feels good, that they've got the team, and you're no longer the solo person that they are looking to.
There's two ways this is going to backfire. The first one is, he was in the business 40 years, and he said, I wish I would have had this book 20 years ago.
Get out a notepad, get on something to write with, because there's some good stuff. So today we've got Shawn Sparks, who I've actually personally called on him a number of times just in the past few years for coaching, for other things as we're growing our advisory firm. He served as a great, he's given a lot of wisdom because he's been in the business a long time. If you haven't heard of him before, he's been around for, 20 years, Shawn, in this industry?
Yeah, 20 years, yeah.
So he owns Triad Partners with Brad Johnson, which was another interview we've got on the channel. And now you guys have over, is it 70 employees, team members over there?
Yeah, the business has been around for 3 years, and I think we're at 78 as of today.
So he's got the experience. He's got some great thoughts on growing a business, helped a lot of advisors, and he's got a new book coming out on the 22nd, The Advisor Transformation. And we've got a special offer for you that we'll probably bring up towards the end. But this book, I read it. I liked it. Thanks for the copy. This is something that I wish I had, 10 years ago. We're going to talk about it today. So I'm going to ask Shawn a bunch of questions about some of the concepts, some of the ideas, and he is an open book himself. So I would get out a notepad, get on something to write with, because there's some good stuff coming up. So Shawn, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Dave. And I got to say, man, I've really enjoyed getting to know you over the years. You've been an amazing just student in the business and also coach. And I've really enjoyed the content I've seen from you. So it's an honor to be here, and thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, man. So let's start with a topic that a lot of advisors probably know, and we all know advisors want to do more of what they love in the business and outside the business, and then do less of what they don't love, right? They want to achieve their goals. They want to grow the business. They want to help their clients in a deep way, deeper than just the numbers lots of times. But they don't want to have the overwhelm. They don't want to have their family life or their social life be negatively impacted by the business, which a lot of times it does. When you're a driven person or you're an entrepreneur, that's what happens. So the chapter in this book that really stuck out to me related to this idea of burnout or overwhelm or all the things we need to do, all the hats we need to wear, is the chapter that is about optimizing your time. Can you share some of the practical ideas or concepts in that chapter just to help us as we're growing, as we're having all this stuff come at us? What's some of the ways to optimize time?
Sure. Yeah. Well, the thing is, I'll start by just saying that the business as a whole for financial advisors is a very failure-prone business. I've seen studies that 90% of financial advisors fail within 12 months. I've seen more studies that 70%. But I think the important thing to understand first is that the large majority of people who decide to make a career out of being a financial advisor don't make the cut. So they don't make it, they find out it's not for them, whatever else. And then when we're the exception or we're the anomaly, and let's say your audience here and yourself, it's like, okay, I've got what it takes. I know the business. I understand how to serve people and help people. I can make a career out of this. Then if you do everything right and you become successful, unfortunately, oftentimes that leads to more demand on your time than you have available, and something has to give. And I'll tell you, this is the sad part of the whole business for me, is that, man, one day if you do everything right and you really help a lot of people, then one day your business will completely consume you. That's not an outcome anybody wants. And the truth is, if you want to make a massive impact for people, you have to learn to scale your business. To scale your business, you have to understand your relationship with time. And what got you here won't get you there. And I'll give you a little bit of an idea. And this is a big part of the book, Dave. But when you get in the business, I know I worked with probably 1,000 advisors over my career. If you got the heart for it, you do everything right, you don't have cash flow to go out and hire a team a lot of times. So you pretty much have to be the guy or the gal. And next thing you know is you find a pattern that works. How do I meet clients? How do I serve them? How do I overserve them? And the advisor, the heart of the advisor is to be there for that client who trusted them. And it is that heart, that good intention that keeps that advisor attached to the service work and all the things that it takes to run the business. This is why our plate becomes too full. We've got to realize that as we progress our business, we have to learn to let go of a lot of the business in order to free ourselves to do what we are best at and what we enjoy. Now, the first step here to understand, Dave, is mindset. It's knowing that you've got to build your business to scale. You've got to optimize what your greatest talents are. And you've got to break this chain that is attaching you to all the inner workings of the business, because your time has to increase in value for your impact to increase over time. So, and there are lots of tips to do that, but this is really what I would say is the main thing to understand is that we have got to progress where our time is going in order for the business to progress.
Yeah. So now, I've actually got some advisors sent in questions. I've got something related to this I want to read because it has to do with time and exactly what you're talking about, progressing in how we're using time, increasing the value, and it has to do with delegation, which is another important part of the book. When I read it was key. But here's the question. So my biggest challenge right now is prioritizing my time. Would love to hear video. Okay, he asked for videos on this, but I want to ask you, Shawn. I need help adding the first staff or support person to our team. So often we hear about, sorry, this is a little bit messy, but I'm just trying to get the question.
Yeah.
Often we hear about, we have a team of 4 advisors or 7 staff people. Well, how did you take the first step? So this is a solo guy. Carl, thank you for sending in the question. Solo guy, time management, and then the first hire. What ideas would you give to him as he's thinking about this?
Okay, so here's what separates what I would say is a true coach versus a lot of people give concepts and we don't go deep enough into the problem and we don't understand the source of the problem well enough. So what I would say is the first step is not a soundbite. Now, the quote that he needs to know, and Carl, you need to know this, it's productivity without priority is not productive. I think of it as just trying to fulfill the needs of the day versus prioritizing where your time should be going. We have to understand this. And here's what separates what I would say is true coaching that identifies the source of the problem versus kind of a soundbite. And you can't solve this problem if you don't understand where your time is being spent. I've dealt with people all the time. They're like, these concepts make sense, but they're like, but I just don't get it. It's just not working. So when we work with advisors and we coach them, Dave, the first thing we do is we say, throw away everything you think you know. I want to know a clear, accurate snapshot of where your time is going. So I often do an exercise, Dave, with our people, and I'll say, over the course of 1 week, I want you to literally monitor every hour of every day so I know what's actually consuming your time. And what's really cool is this is an honest assessment that can't be argued. I'll share with you an example. I had a woman years ago, and she was in her late 50s, and she said, Shawn, I just can't take this anymore. She goes, I'm working 60, 70 hours a week. And I said, well, let's zone in. Let's work on this together. Where's your time being spent? And I said, will you do me a favor? And I gave her a worksheet. And by the way, people who get the book will have access to the actual worksheet. And I said, I want to know every hour of your time over that 60, 70-hour week, where it went. And then I said, next week, we're going to meet. We scheduled a meeting the following Tuesday. The next Tuesday, she came to me and we did a call, and I was like, let's go through your homework. And she said I didn't have time to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So then I asked her, I said, can I just do this for you? And she goes, yeah. And I called her right hand in the office and I said, here's the deal. I've got permission. I need you to mirror her, shadow her next week, and I need you to throw away everything else you think you need to do. She mirrored her, shadowed her, and she came back with an honest assessment where her time went. This woman who was doing, 60, 70 hours a week was burnt out. Within a month, we moved her schedule to 40 hours a week and her productivity increased.
Man.
How is that? We found that she was stuck in the muck doing things out of habit that she should not be touching. And I'm going to give you an example. Before every meeting, she was spending a half hour reviewing and tweaking all the numbers. After every meeting, she was typing out all the notes. After 8 meetings, you're talking 12 hours right there in prep because the job wasn't done correctly on the planning, which is like, think about the software technology used to put together the plans. And then this half hour to an hour, I forget if it was an hour or a half hour at the end, she's literally sitting down on her computer typing. So I said, well, hey, this typing that you're doing and all these notes, I said, what do you think that'd be worth if you hired a professional typer, 100 words per minute, to come in and just type for you? How much would you pay that person? She said, oh my goodness, no, I wouldn't want to pay that. That's an expense. And you got to remember, this woman was worth about $500 an hour to her business. By her putting 5 hours, 10 hours into this, it was costing her business $5,000 an hour. And I said, well, you won't pay somebody to do it, but you're doing it yourself. It's more costly for you to do it. Bottom line is she got it. Come to find out, there's technology that'll do that for you. I said, why don't you just use this technology and just speak your notes, and then within 4 hours, it comes back to you. And it's already typed. And more importantly, it doesn't go to you. It goes to your right hand, who then formats the notes for you. And she goes, well, I didn't know that existed. So here's the big point. I'm giving you a little example, Dave, but you can't solve a problem you don't understand and you don't see. And I think a lot of times we stay so high level on business, lessons and learnings that we aren't willing to go into the details to understand what's the source of this pain, what's the source of this problem. And I've seen people within weeks kill off 10 hours of their workload, whether it's technology that does it, whether it's something that doesn't even need to be done, it's called just deleting it, or whether they have a capable, great team member around them that's better than them that now takes responsibility and relieves them from that. So that's what I would say is really the starting point on understanding how to scale your time.
I love it. I'm a big fan of the do not do list. So doing the exact same thing and then just checking the ones or highlighting the ones like, man, I wish I didn't have to do that today. Or that looks like, that's a waste of time. Making that the job description.
Well, yeah. The other thing there, Dave, is the things that are wasting our time are the things that are bringing misery in the workplace for us. Yeah. There's no reason for you to own a business if you're going to be stuck doing a lot of things you don't like. I'd rather just work for somebody else and do what I love. So there's another part of the equation here that I think is important. It's understanding what's an hour of your time worth. And I mentioned this woman it's about $500 an hour. It's really an easy exercise. It's what's your total revenue divided by around 2,000 hours, which is 40 hours, 50 weeks, as a very quick guesstimate. You can make it more accurate if you like. That'll give you your hourly wage. That is your overall hourly wage, consuming you're a solo advisor, like I think Carl might be. Let's say he's $1 million in revenue, divided by 2,000 is $500 an hour. He now has to look at, and you now have to look at your time on an hourly basis to only do activities that are $500 an hour. And what's cool is if you break your time down, like I said, and everything you do, you'll find that some of your opportunities like marketing and selling, you'll find that's $3,000 an hour. So how do I go from $500 an hour to a $3,000 an hour earning, which is 6 times the revenue, as I do more of the good stuff, the valuable stuff, and I do less of the $15 an hour stuff. And this is what we want to, it's a compass that's going to guide our future. And by the way, the advisors love the high value stuff almost every time. but they're stuck in the muck doing 80% of their time stuff they shouldn't be doing. So this is really important to understand as we continue to grow the business.
Yeah. I want to come back to something you said about leveraging technology. But before we do, one more thing on this. As an advisor, so we've got solo advisor, then we've got an advisor who's starting to hire people and hire a team, and then they start to specialize, and they get to a point. I always see it like kind of like this chart of you're growing as a solo, and then you hit the wall, and you're either going to fail or you're going to start to hire people, and then you're going to take off, right? That's probably something you told me in the past. So you're hiring a team, you're becoming more of the CEO now. I'm giving you a hypothetical example for a friend. And really, I'm thinking about Tim and I, where we've got great advisors who are awesome at what they do. We've got an awesome servicing team that's excellent. I'm stepping into the sales and marketing role more and more. Tim's more of CEO, KPIs, team management, financials, things like that. I'm just curious. So it's easy to measure the sales and marketing side of things, right? And the success. How should we be thinking about CEO roles? I've heard that the CEO sometimes becomes the chief recruiter of getting the best talent. I've heard other things a CEO can do anything. But how do advisors think about that as they're handing off more clients or not taking on new clients? Do you have any insight as to what should a CEO, or what are those high value tasks for CEOs?
Yeah, so let me mention there's like a little bit of a progression that I think sometimes we get wrong before we move to CEO. And let me go ahead, if it's okay, I'll just kind of touch on that quickly.
Of course.
But the goal of your business to scale, which we call it to build a business of significance, it is the only way to build a business that has unlimited growth. Eventually, something will always have to give. If you do not build a model that is scalable, eventually you're going to have to give up on growth, or you're going to have to put more time in, or your team is. So we have to build it with the end in mind and say, how can I build this to where it's less dependent on me, provides more freedom, not only to me, but to the team. This is honestly a method at which the team gains more growth, more excitement, more freedom as well. It's a well-oiled machine we're trying to build. Now, with that being said, the key to go from great advisor office to scalability is to go from a lot of generalists to specialization. This is the key. You may have 5 people in your office today, and all 5 of them are doing a lot of different things. That's the way that it's required. When you have a team of 5, like I'll tell you, when we first started our company, there were 6 people. I had to do a lot of things. I was very much like HR, hiring, talking about marketing, sales process, coaching. Shawn was 1/6 of the equation. And I had to do a lot of things because that's the needs the business required. To grow your business to scale, each step of progression, you've earned the right to then move from generalists to specialists. The way to maximize output in your office is to move to specialists. Fast forward to 20 people in my office. I now was able to specialize in what I did best and what I loved, and I had a team that specializes in the other things. Fast forward to 78. Now it's more specialization. So here's the point. You want to progress to where your team has the ability to specialize as opposed to be jack of all trades. This will give them better output. This will give them more fun, more joy, and it'll create a better overall experience for everybody. Now, when you bring up the CEO, so it depends where the advisors are at in the staffing, Dave. Typically, most of your audience, I would be willing to bet that the main advisor is the main person bringing in revenue. And I'm going to say maybe it's 1 or 2 advisors in the office. And I've got many examples where this is the case. Some people try to get rid of the sales piece and the marketing piece too soon, and then they end up wondering why their revenue's dropping. And the thing is, before I can fire myself from head of sales, I have to have a well-trained team with confidence that our business will not skip a beat. So it actually comes down to training, sharing the vision, leadership. The moment I can take a vacation for 2 weeks and my business doesn't just sustain itself, but it grows while I'm gone, relieves me from being required from that role. So the first thing I would be thinking about is, how can I develop a team to do the things I don't enjoy, to where they get a PhD in it and I'm no longer needed. Now I'm able to step into CEO. Now, I'll tell you, a CEO typically in our space is head of leadership. They have their head of vision. The one thing that I think the CEO will always have, and I'll let you consider like Warren Buffett in this way. He's a good example. If Warren Buffett lost his company tomorrow, Berkshire, completely went away, everybody on the planet would walk up and give Warren Buffett money to invest. Why is that? It's because of his judgment. And I think a CEO has to lead and empower and keep his team excited, but the CEO is going to be the head decision maker to make sure that the boat, where we're heading, is in a direction that makes sense. And your experience, Dave, as an example, your well-rounded overview of the universe and your business is something that's going to be very hard to replace. And the other thing that a CEO does have, and it depends on the scale of the business, but you have the luxury of choosing where you put your time. And I'll tell you that if I was CEO of a company with 78, that would be what I would say is, how can I make the biggest impact on this enterprise? And the truth is, my time changes all the time. There are divisions of our company that don't need much support from me. And I'm pretty much just there. How can I help? What can I do to help you? There are other divisions that are more early, more infant phase, to where they really need me to be active and help. And I almost become like the interim president of different divisions. So my point would be is by having a well-rounded overview, you have the choice to say, where does the business need me and how can I best build? And that's something that I think a CEO, your biggest problem in your business is your biggest opportunity. You need to have time to be able to attack those and to really build them and to be there to help the team and be active. And sometimes that changes, the seasons change. And me being nimble as a case, and me and Brad are co-CEOs, but we've got the biggest problems that we usually end up attacking and being involved in. But that's because of our well-rounded overview, which a lot of people don't have. So
that's good. I appreciate that. So you mentioned technology, leveraging technology. You helped that one woman who was wanting to have the notes typed up or at least recorded or whatever it was. Do you have any examples of other advisors using AI, which is the thing that everybody's talking about? How are advisors using AI to leverage technology or leverage themselves, get more efficient, get more effective?
Yeah, this goes back to delegation a bit, and then let me share. So AI, I'm not a technology expert, but I am highly involved in day-to-day workings of advisors. So in my opinion, and this may be something that could be debated, but I don't believe AI is in a place to where it can replace the human. I believe AI is a tool to help the human. I think of it as kind of like autopilot. You can have autopilot in your airplane, but you still need a pilot. So here's what I would be considering with AI or any technology is that as a tool to help you do a better job quicker. It is not to replace you. Where I see, you're a content developer, Dave. You've got great content. Where I see people screwing up right now is they're overusing AI to replace their voice, and then the message comes out less authentic. I've seen a lot of people try to use AI to, ChatGPT to replace them. I will tell you, I can see it right now. That's not them. And I believe that what separates your advisors from their competition is who they authentically are. So we teach a principle in delegation that I learned from Michael Hyatt. He's my personal business coach and mentor, and many of you may know him. Michael taught me a principle called 10-80-10. So the first thing is for me to delegate, whether it's to technology or to a human, I've got to give very clear the first 10% of the vision of what needs to be done. I think a lot of times entrepreneurs are running fast and they just throw a job at a teammate. The teammate runs down the path and builds it, comes back, hands it to them, and it's not what they wanted. I don't believe that's the teammate's fault. I believe that's improper delegation. You need to spend the time on the first 10% to give your team clarity, exactly what we need to do, why we need to do it, the thinking behind it, to then set them up for success to execute for you. That first 10% is the most important part to delegation. Then, once it is clear and your team says, I get it, I understand it, let's do this, they take 80% of the build of whatever it is. It's a project, a task, whatever. And then the last 10%, they then showcase you as you requested. Here's what we've done. And this is how you properly delegate. Here's what's cool with this method is that last 10% before it goes out to the public, before it goes out, and it's live, you get the final say to tweak, adjust, and so on. So you can ensure the quality's there. The first 10% is going to increase the chance the quality is what you want. So here's my point when it comes to AI. You need to be really clear on what you want. AI can be a huge helper in helping you execute, but that last 10%, making sure it's your voice, making sure it's real, it's a message that's authentic to you, that's on you. And I believe just pushing ChatGPT and running is the wrong way to do it. You'll actually, if you don't improve your brand with everything you put out, if you don't enhance your brand, you hurt it. And I think when you sound like a robot or it comes off like a robot, I think it's actually a big mistake. So I would say, Dave, you would never just have ChatGPT be your voice. I believe the tool can give you a framework, can help you execute, but it needs to, at the end of the day, be you.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me get your honest opinion on this for your gut feel. I've been talking with a team, a startup that's building an advisor AI co-pilot that's going to be of a heads up display. Say you're doing a Zoom meeting or doing a call, and it's going to be analyzing the conversation in real time and then actually prompting the advisor with questions or recalling key information from past meetings and then analyzing the call afterwards. It seems useful. It's not a replacement of the advisor. People are going to need humans, but would you say that's an enhancement, or is that more of a scary thing of like, well, what's your opinion on the tool?
Well, so that right there to me represents a tool that optimizes your performance. It's not becoming you. Anything that doesn't replace the human, in my opinion, can help the human. So I'm using like ChatGPT for content creation as an example. I've seen many conversations where on Zoom where it's taking notes for us. That's a great tool. Like that's not going out to the public and replacing me. That's a tool that I now can use. And at the end of the day, I can revise those notes too. So anything that's going to help you optimize your performance, I think is a win. I don't know this technology specifically, but I would say, how can I use this tool to help me? And I would take away the mindset of how can I use this tool to replace me? And you've seen like the LinkedIn posts, Facebook posts. I mean, there's so much fakeness out there. They're just going too far.
Mm-hmm.
Anything like that, I believe that's going to help us optimize our performance. I'm all in for exploring and learning that stuff. I'm just, I believe the biggest way to differentiate yourself from everybody else out there is your true self being authentic with people, in the public. And I think there's too much templates out there for small business owners. There's too much done for you, but not truly you type of approaches that I'm very much against. And as you see in the book, when we talk about, marketing and so on, it is very clear that we are helping people brand who they truly are, which separates them from everybody else out there, because that is the truest way to differentiate yourself. And that's where I would just say, that's where like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm not going out to 10 on AI. I'm going to go like 5, say, how can I use this tool? And there are lots of things I don't even know on that side, but I'm sure as long as it's useful, feel free to adopt.
Cool. Thanks for your opinion. I want to actually talk about marketing. One thing on that tool, if you're an advisor team, if you've got 10 advisors that you're working with and you want this tool, send me an email, because that's what we're looking for now. But marketing, and that's got a chapter or a few chapters in the book. There was one thing I read. Can you explain why is ego the enemy of scale? I think that was in the marketing section, but why is ego the enemy of scale?
Yeah. So first, there's a lot of reasons why. So the first thing is, if you build a business based on you cannot scale. meaning I can only go so far. Now, ego is something that I don't think we all recognize. Ego comes in lots of different forms. So the first one would be is when you bring on a new client, you have that heart to be there for them, to care for them. And Dave, think about your first client you ever brought on, and they trusted you. That feeling you got, and the reason you've been so successful is you don't take that for granted. You say, I will do anything to confirm and over deliver for this person. And what happens is we've got a young Dave who's just getting in the business, and he says, I will be there. I will do everything for them. Client calls, guess who's there? Dave. Client needs something. I can't let anybody else do it. I have to ensure it's right. Dave's there. The more successful you get, the more clients you bring on, the more of those people that you care for and that you love, therefore the more demand you're putting on yourself. And then you wake up and you're like, my goodness, you have a list of things you want to get done today, and you've got these wonderful people calling and needing you, and guess what Dave tells himself? I've got to be there for them. But the truth is, most of our clients are business owners too. A lot of them are. They understand how businesses operate. Your clients didn't buy you as the one person to take care of all of their needs ongoing. They bought your judgment. They bought what you stand for. They bought the value that you could deliver. And the truth is, your clients don't care if it's you who's doing the paperwork or if it's you that's taking the call. They would prefer the job get done well by people you trust. So the first thing with ego as the enemy is we've got to throw away the feeling that our heart, that we are required, because actually we're hurting our client experience. Because think about the moment you go on vacation. Think about the moment you've got 100 things to do today, and this is now something at the end of the day you've got to do. What we have to do is say, how do we provide the most valuable output and work for our clients and the best experience? And it can't fall back on, Dave Zoller, is required to do this. It's got to fall back on my team, and we will deliver. This is the only way to scale, and we've got to throw I out of the equation. And so many advisors have a mental block. They feel like, man, my clients will only work with me. If you ask your clients and you frame it correctly, and I've done this many times, the client's like, I understand how business works. I want you to fulfill your promise. And I want you to do everything you can to give us an incredible experience. And I want this planning to be as good as possible. And it is literally impossible for me to say, I, Shawn Sparks, will be the best planner ever. I will analyze every which number inside and out. I will be available anytime you call. By the way, I will do all of this, and I will never let you down. It is impossible. So we've got to bankrupt our own mind, thinking it has to be us, and we've got to say, what's best for the client? How can we build a situation in a team to where they are trained to be specialists and be better than me, versus my side of the desk, jobs? I have somebody who specializes every day on analytical stuff. And then at the same time, you can't be absent. Your job is not to just go away. Your job is to be there as needed, but for your clients to know 90% of the day-to-day, my team, I trust them to do as good, if not better, than I would. And your clients want an incredible experience. So we've got to bankrupt our own ego to think it has to be us. The other piece of this that I think is important, Dave, it is impossible to build the dream without a team. Show me a vision that does not require a team, and I will show you a very unexciting vision. Show me an unexciting vision, and I'll show you a very unexcited team. They're coming to work with a routine business that's a job. Everybody wants to be a part of an exciting, big thinking vision. But the best people want to work for a big, a company that you look at and their best times are before them. They're so excited about what they can do. This requires a team. I believe ego, which I'm going to change the word to arrogance. There are a lot of business owners that are trying to control their business, and they're trying to do things they're holding so tight because it's like their baby, and they're not letting their team perform and gain responsibility to run. A plus people want to grow. They want to become better business people. They want to progress and improve over time. They want to take responsibility and kind of own their role. But these entrepreneurs who got in the business, it's like their baby, they're afraid to let go. And the more you try to control your business, the more your business is going to control you. The less upside your business has, the less happy your team will be. We have to build in a way to where we give trust to our team. We train them to where they can progress their own career, and your business is a conduit for that. And this is what I would say is ego and arrogance is not on purpose. It's not a bad person. It's them thinking that they're going to be in charge. And a lot of times they're keeping your best ideas will oftentimes come from your team because they're on the front, they're in the front lines. And I think sometimes and I'm a victim of this. I fall in love with my own ideas. And I think a key phrase for you as entrepreneurs is when you become a leader, a true leader does not say, what can you do for me to their team? They say, what can I do to help my team become more successful? What are the obstacles that my team is facing that with my experience, I can reach in and help them? And then when I gain feedback from my executive team, or you gain feedback from your best people, you got to stop for a second and say, wait a second, what if they're right? What if their idea might be better and more to the kind of the heart of the clients than mine? And the moment you start asking questions like this is the moment you're actually opening your heart to allow other people to build alongside of you as opposed to behind you. And this is where I believe breakthroughs happen. And here's what's cool. I fell in love with my idea 3 weeks ago. I had a team member that fell in love with their idea. I'm like, what if they're right? And we ended up right in the middle to an outcome we never would have come to had I not had their perspective. So my idea wasn't the best, theirs wasn't the best, but it kind of massaged the outcome to say, my goodness, I think there's a hybrid here. But I believe like arrogance also and ego comes with the closed ears. We're not looking around. We're not kind of just falling in love with our own. One way to really kill your team, I'm going to share this and I'm going to let you ask any questions you have is, well, this is the way we've always done it. I've been in the business 20 years. This is the way it has to be. If you can't rationalize your reasoning on why you should do something today without bringing past history, the last 20 years in as the reason, then that is you're trying to validate today based on years experience. And sometimes change needs to happen today. Change needs to happen. So don't ever use your experience to discredit your team. Don't ever use the last 20 years or this is the way the industry does it. Instead say, wait a second, forget the way we've done it. What's the best way to do it today? And that will really help as you continue to improve and grow.
Like that. One pushback, I was just reading, what's his name? I'm looking up the difference between, Arthur Brooks, From Strength to Strength. So there's when you're young, you've got the fluid intelligence, which is like all of the knowledge and the quick action and like the drive to do it. And in your 40s, it starts to decline. But then you have crystallized intelligence, which is the experience. And it's the combo of these different industries or different things that you've learned. And it's only a human can do it. And AI can't do that yet. But like there is some value there. And I know what you mean, where it's like you don't want to bulldoze and say, this is the way. Well, that's not so much a pushback. Here's what I would say. You want a culture where everybody feels they're able to use their voice. You want a culture where nobody falls in love with their own idea, the owner or the other people. At the end of the day, it goes back where we started. I believe the best judgment will come from the CEO who's been there 20 years. But I believe they're going to limit themselves by not being able to see around them and hear. So I will tell you, there are lots of decisions that I'll make that are opposite of what my team would want. But I listened, I understood, and that also creates a training ground. Here's a part of the business we don't see that I want to share with you. And then it's an open conversation, as opposed to what I believe is there's a lot of times we're just muzzling our team. So the word fluid that you used is the answer, is that we have a fluid conversation. We have open feedback.
I'm not a dictator and saying this has to be the way it is. I'm not saying you're going to go with your idea here. I want us to be a team that openly communicates and has a conversation. It helps with training, and it does help a lot of times because here's the truth. Let's say I've got a team that's an expert at planning, tax attorney, CPA, all this stuff. I've been in the business 20 years. Every single day, they are doing advanced tax situations, cases, every single day. And they're dealing with my advisors and helping them to do the best thing for their client. Now, I have business experience they don't have. They have specialized experience I don't have. It would be foolish for me to make a decision that impacts them without having a conversation with them and helping me to understand their perspective. Because all of our perspective will give us the best answer. Now, it doesn't mean that when it comes to a business trajectory, it may mean that I'm going to make a decision that I believe is right, but their perspective helped me to minimize maybe a problem that could have occurred. Maybe I had to buff the edges off. But I believe with the culture, if we hire great people, we want to have an open mind, an open heart, and they want to know they have a voice. And I think a lot of times entrepreneurs make decisions, they don't have that conversation that impacts the team, and the team is honestly left frustrated, and why are we doing it? Here's what we're thinking about. Is there anything I'm missing that I should be considering? It doesn't mean that the CEO is giving up judgment or control. It means that they're instead enhancing the overall output by listening to all perspectives, which, going back to the ego, what's between my ears it's very siloed. There's lots of experiences outside that will give us a better outcome long term.
Yeah. So
you mentioned communicate that with you. I don't want it to go to the extreme where we're just giving control up, So
yeah, I like that. So compelling vision. If you're advisors, if you're listening to that, do I have a compelling vision? Whether I'm solo or I've got a team, page 111 is the litmus test. So when you get the book, check out page 111. So you mentioned it was related to, we started getting into kind of the sales advisor. And I know you've got the framework of sales advisor, service advisor, and planning advisor. And we try to, if we're hiring or the one thing that came to mind as we're talking about delegation and things like that is in the beginning, you want to wear as many hats as possible so the business survives. But as you continue to grow, you want to shed as many hats as possible so that the business survives, right? So when it comes to getting specialized, which you mentioned, finding a sales advisor, we're actually looking for the sales specific advisor at Streamline. By the way, if you're interested, apply on streamlinepractice.com. But why is that so important to have this specialty of three when you're at that stage, when you can afford it? Is that a necessity, or is it just a better way to scale? How important is that? Three.
So this goes back to, I mentioned at the beginning that 90% of advisors fail, maybe 70% look at the study in the first 12 months. If you were to ask the industry, what does it take to be a great advisor? And I think me and you had this conversation before. But the industry, think about the audience here, your advisors who are listening. What's it take to make a great advisor? So I've had 1,000 experiences with this. Everybody says, I need somebody who's really knowledgeable and understands finance so they can make sure they do a great job. I need somebody who's got a knack for numbers, and somebody who doesn't understand numbers is going to have a hard time with money, I've got to have somebody who's really well connected. They know a lot of great people and they're a great relationship person. Then you've got to have good skills to be able to communicate. I'll tell you, if you're an advisor who doesn't communicate well with people and doesn't give confidence and trust, it's going to be really hard to convince a 65-year-old couple to invest their life savings with you. So what we're looking for as a financial advisor is all these attributes. And here's what I've seen. I've seen an advisor say, man, there's this guy that goes to church with me. He's a CFA. He is very analytical. He's incredible with numbers. I think he's going to be a great advisor. Then you put the CFA in the seat to be an advisor, and he goes straight into details. He's over the client's head. He sounds really intelligent, but they don't understand. Like, it's not in a way that they understand it. And then 12 months later, you wake up and you're like, man, this incredible person, he's smart, he's good at what he does. I just can't understand why he's having a hard time bringing clients on. Then you've got another person, and this is a good example. I've got a good friend who hired this awesome advisor. She is the best relationship person on the planet. All she wants to do is she wakes up and just wants to overserve the clients, help them. But she is scared to death of the sales process, of getting a client to say, move your money with me, afraid to ask for the sale. And this person is the person that I would want to serve me as a relationship person. But this is not the person I want to communicate the plan to me. Honestly, when she's talking, there's doubt because she's just like a relationship person, not a great salesperson. But then you got that guy who a lot of your advisors probably are. As soon as you talk to them, you sit up with excitement. You're engaging. They take the complex and make it simple. And man, it's like a bored person sitting back in the desk with their arms crossed, and now they're up excited and say, wow. It's almost like mesmerizing, you know? So can you see there's 3 different types of people here? And the reason 70 to 90% of people fail in the financial advisor is because we assume all 3 of those different unique attributes should fall on one person. So this is as we've done coaching and we've scaled multiple companies to billions in AUM. We're like, aha, there are 3 types of advisors. We shouldn't expect any one person to be the best, most analytical person, the best communicator, and the one that's willing to just stop and do everything for a client once the sale is over for a service. So this is what I would say. It comes down to scale represents moving from jack of all trades or generalists to specialists. Imagine having a team of 3 to where one person is the most analytical. They will tweak the plan every which way to get the absolute best deal for the client. They will look in front of a computer screen, the Excel spreadsheets, the software, and they are in love with it. To be honest, if I'm your client, Dave, that's who I want putting the plan together. I don't want the guy who's in 6 meetings a day trying to bring on new clients. I want the guy who's literally behind the scenes tweaking everything, kind of the mad scientist. But I don't want that guy communicating the plan to me. I want the knowledgeable advisor who understands it to take that on a silver platter and say, Shawn, here's what we've come up with. We've crunched the numbers inside and out, and here's what it means to you. Then, once that conversation is up, I want somebody who's very available for all the questions, who really cares, not about just bringing new clients on, but just making sure and monitoring everything, a relationship manager type person, a relationship person. That's who I want to have that fluid relationship with ongoing. So the point would be is, I believe everybody should work towards specialization in this way. And here's what I've seen. I'm going to give you the bottom line. I've got an incredible teammate, CPA. He was the financial advisor who was expected to do everything. You know what he loved doing? Planning. He actually said, I don't want to be an advisor anymore. I want to be specialized in planning. Like he goes into this 10x deeper than most people. Every single day he wakes up fulfilled and excited because he's doing what he loves. And he knows he's making an impact for every single person he puts a plan together for. That relationship person, this advisor I shared earlier about just the best relationship advisor, she made a deal. She was managing $1 billion in relationships by herself. She loved the clients. She took the extra effort at the end of a call when there was a service request to say, by the way, how's your son doing? You mentioned he was going to be retiring. Some people are so mission focused, others are relationship focused. When she took the job to work with another office of mine, she said, I will be the best advisor for your clients, but I'm going to ask one thing of you. I do not want to be involved with sales meetings. She said, I've tried it. I don't like it. It gives me frustration, anxiety. I don't like asking for this. She goes, but what I want to do is love on your clients like nobody ever has. This girl is one of the best referral getters in that office because she takes the extra time to really get to know and nurture the relationship, while an advisor who's just running mission focused, busy, 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 never would have been able to do that. So do you see how the three parties working together as a team, which we call it the triad advisor model, that will maximize joy, fulfillment, and the output for the clients and the experience.
Yeah.
And that's in the book in the sales section, exactly how to do it. And here's what's cool. Last thing, imagine having me be the advisor and say, look what I've done. Imagine having a team saying, look what we've done, stacking hands. Yeah. That's where it gets fun, where all three parties are aligned, doing what they love, all for the same common goal, to help those clients.
I like that a lot. It's a great idea. We're moving that way. If you know any sales advisors, send them over. I'm selfishly plugging things here, but Shawn, that's excellent. Hey, I forgot to ask you. So you let me know how it is, how you are on time. You've got a special offer for people listening right now. Two things, actually. I did want to ask about marketing, quick question. And then also, I think you might be the person that gave a really nice explanation as if you were talking to a client when you're starting to hand off clients, right? When you're freeing up your time a bit and starting to hand off to the team and explaining it. Could you, from the top of your head, pretend like you're talking to a client and explain how does an advisor do that where the client feels good, that they've got the team, and you're no longer the solo person that they are looking to?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you an answer that is not exactly what you're asking for, but it's what I would say is more accurate in how to do it. So I want to make an impact for your team there. So the first thing is a handoff from your client who trusts you and loves you to another advisor. The first thing is forget the word service advisor or sales advisor, planning advisor. Everybody's an advisor. Okay? It's just that they specialize in different roles. Now, so the way to kill this is by calling your advisors sub-advisors. And all they want to do is they wake up one day and be a real advisor. This is bad. This is not scalable. This is not the way to scale in significance. You need true advisors. And everybody may not have the same role as an advisor, but they are advisors. The next thing is your client loves you, trusts you. What brings them to you is what they're going to expect from you. Unfortunately, most of the advisors listening to this have already sold themselves as the guy or the gal. I will do this. I will do that. Throw I out of the vocabulary going forward. So now what we have to do is, number one, is every new client you bring on, we sell the team. We don't sell I anymore. We work as a team. Bringing a client on with the wrong expectations, you should not bring them on at all. Every client you bring on going forward, you need to bring on with the right expectations. You need to be selling your team, not your individual self, because the experience that they're going to want, the expectation is that the team is going to do a great job for them and be there for them. Does not mean you're disappearing. They're still going to have access, but a lot of the work's going to be done by the team, and every one of your advisors or your clients that you bring on going forward will say, we love that. Everybody wants a team approach. They don't want one person, and then they're out for 2 weeks, and next thing you know is nothing happens. They want the best outcome. So we need to explain that at the end of our process. Now, for all of our clients, we've already brought on the wrong way to where I've sold myself. And by the way, it's not wrong. It's success that's causing the problem today. It's that you may have not had a team early on. There's two ways this is going to backfire. The first one is an abrupt change is met with friction. I hate to say it, but I've seen every nightmare under the sun. An advisor mails a letter to his clients. They've got a new advisor who's going to be working with them going forward. How's that going to be received?
Yeah.
Client walks in expecting to see you, Dave. Oh, by the way, Dave's not here. You're meeting with this person and it's a complete stranger. An abrupt change will be met with friction. We need to follow a process. The second thing that will go wrong with this process is if the quality of the person you give them is much lower. You need the quality to be very similar. If you do not have confidence and trust that this person would take care of you, you should not delegate this new advisor who's 21 years old, who's 6 months in the business, say, now you're going to be talking to this person. You need to ensure that there's a process that's followed to where you very well communicate with them. And second is that the quality is good. This is where I've seen both kind of go wrong. Now, how do we communicate it is your question, Dave. The first thing is there's about a 6-month process that I recommend to where, let's say you've got a review meeting coming up with your favorite, one of your top clients. Now's the time to introduce that client to the other advisor alongside of you. I would communicate. Let's say the client is Dave. Dave, I want you to know that, the vision of our company and what we do and how we do it unique to other advisors has really caught on. And I'll tell you that we're making a big impact, and I just can't tell you how grateful I am that you've been here so early. And we're going to continue. Our vision is to continue to grow and really improve the lives of retirees, just like yourself. Now, I want you to know, as we've grown, and you're a business guy, we've found that an individual can't be all things to all people. And I'll tell you, there are times when I'm out at a business conference, or there are times when I am out on vacation with my family. I do not want our experience to stop at all, whether I'm here or I'm not. I want you to know you've trusted me. I am building this in a way that your experience will not skip a beat regardless. So we really do have a team approach. Today I've got whoever in the meeting with us, and this is all accurate, I'm giving you, Dave. We have a team of people behind the scenes that are doing the planning, that are putting all this together. I'm heavily involved as well, but we've just found this team approach works best, so it's okay. I wanted to introduce you to him, get to know him or her as well, because they're a big part of what we're doing. Is that cool with you? Oh yeah. Most of your business clients will say, that's how we work as a business too. Great. Now, this is where what I would say is a relationship is starting to establish. It is not a replacement to you, Dave. You've shared the why, you've shared the vision and how we're going to continue to make an impact. And we do have a team approach, whether they knew it or not. Then that is introduction 1. That is not handoff. Now we're going to infuse this person and have them be involved for a while, whether it's a recap of the meeting. Hey, Dave, it was so great to meet you today. As we discussed, boom, first nudge to that person. Then after about 6 months, we've kind of carried the weight together. Now the next thing you know is your client's not calling in for you anymore. They're saying, by the way, can I have whoever? Yeah. And now a relationship has been established, trust has been earned, confidence and trust has been shared among the team. And then we wake up 6 months, 9 months later, your client's like, dude, I love the team approach. So often the problem, Dave, is they want a quick fix. We want a quick fix. You got to remember, this is a client and a relationship that has been earned. We have to now re-earn and share that relationship with our team. And then over time, your client wants to know that they're in good hands. They trust and have confidence in the people they work with. And your chance, I'll tell you, in 6 months, 90% of your clients will buy into this process. And you got to notice, I didn't say 100. You always have 1 client, 2 clients who really just fight this a bit. And then you're going to wake up, Dave, and you're going to say, oh, this one client said this. I can't go through with the process anymore. And then you're going to have that one example. And to be honest, 12 months later, you'll have 95%. 6 months, 90%, 12 months, 95% adopt it. And you may have 5% of the people who you really just stay heavily involved with. But think about the scale. 1/20th of the work was just now shared among the team. 19/20ths. You only have 5%. Do you see how you just scaled your time? Yeah. And by the way, I do not recommend you ever do the disappearing act. When some of these people are in and they're talking to your other advisors, stop in and say hi. And just reinforce the team. And then over time,
is that a standing stop in and say hi, or is that a sit down for 15 to
No, that's a standing nudge. Pat him on the shoulder. You're in good hands with him. We were talking about you just last week. By the way, I just want to thank you for everything you do. Give him a handshake. I'll let you guys get back to business. Walk out. But you've earned the relationship. So you just got to remember, there's business and then there's people. If you were on the other side of it, how would you want this relationship to go? I personally, Dave, I love you, man, but I don't want you to be responsible for everything. I don't want you to have a busy day and I realize, man, my relationship to the company just stopped because Dave was at a work conference for a week. They want an incredible experience, and a team approach will always trump an individual approach. Think about every analogy you can think of. Basketball team. Put Michael Jordan up against a high school boys basketball team. Individual versus 5, he loses in his prime. We have to build a team-based approach in business, but carefully build it in a way that the relationships are considered. That's how you would do that. And by the way, all the steps are in the book, like literally step by step. Here's how it goes. And there's a lot of little things that I think that aren't taught, which is why I wrote this.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to study that chapter, those pages. How are we on time, Shawn?
As far as you, I've got, just a couple more minutes. So I've got a 10:15. So.
Oh yeah. All right. Tell me about the offer for people listening.
Okay. So the first thing I'll say, Dave, is I didn't write this for the money or for the book sales. It's just not the case. The truth is, my dad texted me the other day. He read the book. And he was in the business 40 years. And he said, man, I wish I would have had this book 20 years ago. The mission that I'm on, and my life's mission, Dave, is to help. I believe that financial advisors have one of the most influential roles in working with people than any other profession. When we talk about the stress, I mean, one of the number one causes of divorce is finances. I believe our financial lives can really impact the quality of our life overall. And I believe a great financial advisor and their team can make a very huge impact with a lot of people. What I find is that the better impact they make, the more influence they have, oftentimes creates a sacrifice for their own lives. I've seen the best advisors, people who you envy, they're like an icon. All the world around them, everybody's just appraising them for the success they found. But deep inside, they found that their business is consuming them. It's become a monster. It's stealing their freedom and their joy. It's building a business to where they're not there with their kids. And I was one of them, where my dad had to work on the weekends. 89% of business owners work on the weekends. And what I found is that if you are the best in the business, I believe your success should lead to an overall better quality of life. If your success is based on numbers, but it's going to cost you something that you're going to regret later, it's not success. So I went on this pursuit myself in my own life, and I brought a lot of people along with me to say, let's build a business of significance. And in doing so, we'll have a business that is a blessing to our life, not one that's become it. So this has been my life's mission, something I'm very passionate about. And I got to the point, I was like, I think more people need to see this, understand this, and have the strategy behind it, because I believe everybody deserves it. So this is where I said I got to write a book to go to a broader audience, not just my coaching group that we work with, but we need to get this message out to more people, and that's why I wrote it. So here's the reason I say that. We're launching the book March 22nd. I am lowering the price to the very lowest level. I think on Kindle it's like $1.99. And anybody who buys it from 22nd to the 26th will get it the cheapest price possible. I have created an audio book as well. And I am going to give the audio book to your audience, Dave, just as a gift. You can order it right now. Just go to theadvisortransformation.com/friend. Put Dave's name in there just so we know you're a listener of the podcast. And as soon as you enter your information, within like 12 minutes, the audiobook will automatically be sent to you. And then, of course, March 22nd to 26th, buy the Kindle version. You can get the soft cover, hardcover, whatever else. But I consider this an opportunity for you, a gift for you. But it's really going to come down to you saying, I want to build in this way. And that's where I'm hopeful it'll make an impact.
That's awesome. Thanks for doing that, Shawn. I didn't know that about your dad. That makes it so much more impactful. Is you're writing. That's why you're so passionate about helping advisors. You're writing to your dad or to dads and moms and or just people who have other important people in their life, and you don't want the same thing to happen to them. So that's pretty impactful. Thanks for sharing
You know,
that.
like, I've got good friends, man, that of all the emotions and feelings you can have, I will tell you, guilt and regret is something you always want to avoid. And I've had good friends, people I love, say my biggest regret in my life was not being present and not being there, for my kids or my family or my spouse. And I just want that healthy ambition of making a difference to have a healthy reflection on your own life. And there is a way to do it. And I would say that it can be done in less time than you ever could have imagined. I've seen people completely transform their business in 9 months to where it's 90% of their workload falls off their plate and their team is happier. Their experience for the clients is better. So that's really, I believe it's a mission worth pursuing. And that's the mission I am on, Dave. So man, I appreciate you for having me on.
Thanks, Shawn. Take care.
See ya.